The man just used a ruler to draw a corner of the wall, but he found that the house they lived in was crooked because it was originally a 90-degree right-angled wall. After changing the position, it was actually more than 30 degrees apart. At that moment, he noticed something was wrong. So he quickly took a cup of water and poured on the ground. As expected, the water on the ground was also strangely divided into two parts. Realizing that something was wrong, the man quickly measured the distance between the house and then ran outside with his daughter to measure it. Unexpectedly, he found that the length of the house was 5 meters more than the outside of the house. Even his daughter was very shocked because this was very inconsistent with the physical law. At this time, a sudden chill came, and his daughter ran straight to the living room to wear a jacket. Who would have thought that when his daughter took the jacket and opened the door, something strange happened? He only saw his daughter disappearing in a strange way, and he was so scared that he didn't know what to do. At first, he thought his daughter was playing hide-and-seek with him, but when he walked into the house to check, he only found his daughter's jacket on the ground. He was so scared that he hurried to look for his daughter in the house, but he searched every corner of the house, but he still couldn't find his daughter's figure. At this time, he didn't know that the missing daughter had come to a strange space. He held the doll and walked all the way through the corridor, and when he walked to the end of the room, he was stunned by the scene in front of him. There was a big bathtub with water in it, and there seemed to be a person lying in the bathtub. At the same time, Jack was looking for his daughter everywhere in the house, but when he opened the door of the second floor, he found that he had come to the living room on the first floor, as if he had fallen into a maze game. In order not to get lost, he hurriedly blocked the chair in front of the door, but when he turned around, he found that the corridor was originally only 3 meters, but now it has become more than 30 meters. Finally, Jack slowly walked to the study, but when he came in, he found a door behind the bookshelf. He thought his daughter must be hiding in it, so he was scared and walked in slowly. Unexpectedly, the door behind him was closed in an instant. On the other hand, his daughter also met an old man in a strange space. This moment scared his daughter to a cold sweat. Without further ado, he hurried to the outside of the room. At this time, Jack also heard his daughter screaming, but he couldn't find his daughter's room for a long time. At this time, his daughter's voice was heard again. After confirming that his daughter was in the room, Jack kicked the door open at once. Unexpectedly, he returned to the living room at this time, and the chair he just kicked out. To figure out what happened, he had to move to a new house. Because the first day they moved to the villa in the suburb, something strange happened. Jack suddenly heard noises coming from the wall, but his wife didn't hear anything. And this is also a foreshadowing of the director. Because they drove all day, the couple went to bed early. At this time, his daughter was playing the lead role alone in the house. Unexpectedly, a strange black eye suddenly appeared on the wall. His daughter was shocked at the moment she saw it. Fortunately, his father walked in time. Then his daughter told his father about what happened just now, but his father didn't take it seriously. When he saw his father leaving the room, his daughter hid her head in the blanket in a hurry. As a result, the next second, the black shadow appeared again in a strange way. Then Jack went downstairs to prepare to turn off the lights and go to bed. Because the area of the villa is relatively large, Jack closed the door all the way from the living room to the study. However, when he was about to go back upstairs to sleep, he found that his wife had fallen asleep. At this moment, he was in a state of disappointment. However, what he didn't know was that in the few minutes he turned off the lights, the time had passed strangely for more than 5 hours. When the time came to the next day, Jack came to the small shop in town alone to buy daily necessities, but he accidentally learned the secret of this villa. It turned out that before Jack moved to the house, there was a house owner who mysteriously disappeared. The police searched for a long time, but couldn't find him. The boss said that the house might be a brothel and advised Jack to move out of that place as soon as possible. But Jack thought the boss was kidding him. At night, Jack was working overtime in the study, but something terrible happened. On the last page of a notebook, a strange sentence appeared, saying to let him leave the house as soon as possible. Otherwise, the consequences would be dire. He didn't wait for him to respond, and then there was a sound of closing the door. When he turned around, he was stunned. There was a hidden door on the bookshelf which made him feel something was wrong. To verify his inner guess, he slowly went up and opened the door and found a staircase that he couldn't forget a glance. He just moved to the new house and didn't know what was below it, so he was curious and slowly walked down. As a result, he found a lot of photos scattered on the ground, and the content of the photos was the picture of their family moving into the house. He didn't wait for him to respond, and he found that the doll his daughter often played with was also in this place. When he saw his daughter's leg, Jack rushed to her room and took it out. But his daughter had already died of drowning. When he saw this, Jack couldn't accept it for a while. He thought he must be dreaming, so he tried to wake himself up from his dream. But it was useless. Jack, who collapsed, had no choice but to break the bottle next to him and put the broken glass on his neck. Sure enough, the severe pain woke him up instantly. It turned out that what happened just now was really a nightmare. The first thing he did after he woke up was to tell his wife that he dreamed of a hidden door on the bookshelf. But when they came to the study and checked it, they didn't find anything wrong with the bookshelf. Jack was in pain from repeated strange events. When he realized that there might be something unclean in this house, he decided to leave here with his wife. But when Jack was packing his things, he suddenly found that his wife had another cell phone. He realized that his wife might have an affair, so Jack went out and questioned his wife. But his wife, who was strong, expressed her dissatisfaction with Jack's peeking at her cell phone. And in the face of her husband's distrust, his wife abandoned her daughter in a fit of anger. He left this suburb villa by himself. However, since his wife left the house, strange things have happened more frequently. His daughter disappeared in the house in an inexplicable way, and the house turned into a maze. It took him a long time to find his daughter. When he realized that the house was definitely a murder house, Jack called his wife and asked her to come and pick them up. But his wife was angry and refused to answer his call. There was no way. Jack had to ask the boss of a supermarket in the town to lend him a car. But the boss said he could never leave. He also told him a scary legend. It turned out that more than 10 years ago, the location of his villa was a church to collect some evil souls. It was only after it was demolished that the villa was built. As long as the person who has some evil on him lives in it, he will never be able to leave. When he heard this, Jack immediately packed up his things and took his daughter to leave this place on foot. Unexpectedly, when they left the villa, a strange shadow suddenly appeared in the house. When he saw this, Jack quickly accelerated his steps. I don't know how long it took, but they finally saw a lighted building in front of them. They thought they were saved, but when they came in, they were stunned. They turned around and returned to that terrible house. Because it was already late at night, the temperature in the suburbs was unusually cold. The two rabbits had been frozen to death. In order not to be frozen to death, they had to decide to return to the villa. They waited until dawn before leaving. The father and daughter had just laid down to rest, but something strange suddenly happened. A white light suddenly flashed from the ceiling, and the faucet of the bathroom was also strangely opened. In order to figure out what was going on, Jack slowly walked forward to check the situation. Unexpectedly, as soon as he walked over, the door of his daughter's room was locked. Then he was pulled into a strange space. Then he saw a big bathtub. He didn't wait for him to react until Ah Piao suddenly appeared behind him. After seeing the other person's face, he found that the other person was his dead ex-wife. But just in the blink of an eye, Ah Piao suddenly disappeared, scaring him to run without saying a word. He ran all the way upstairs along the basement stairs. Unexpectedly, after opening the door, he found himself a few days earlier writing in the study. But the strange thing is that the other person couldn't see him at all. There was no way. Jack had to write on the notebook the words to let him leave the house. And at this time, a few days ago, he went to the supermarket to buy something. Then Jack came to the living room. Unexpectedly, time went wrong again. This was the first day. They moved to the new house. At this time, he called out to himself before, but the other person still couldn't hear his voice. He didn't wait for him to react, and the stairs of the house twisted. The watch was also starting to turn crazy. He desperately wanted to climb the stairs, but he was dragged down. In the end, after a lot of effort, Jack finally made it to the second floor. But at this time, he entered another space. In this place, he met a strange old man. Jack thought it was all this old man's trick, but the other person said it was all his own fault. Then he punched him until the other person took off his hat. Jack found out that this old man was actually himself. The other person said since he came to the house, he's been trapped in this place forever. So, don't make a meaningless resistance. The next second, the old man suddenly disappeared. Then his daughter walked down the stairs, and at this time, the time was back to normal. Savanthi's wife also came back from outside. When he saw Jack here, he immediately carried his daughter into the car and told his wife a secret that had been hidden for many years. It turned out that a few years ago, his ex-wife did not die of an accident, but he deliberately poisoned the wine glass and killed his ex-wife. Then Jack said this villa was the court of criminal trial because he was carrying his ex-wife's life. He can never walk out now. In the end, only the innocent wife and daughter left this house. And because of this, this house was rented again on the internet and waited for the next criminal to be judged. The video ends here. You Should Leave tells a scary little story. The movie uses its unique narrative method to discuss the collision of man and supernatural, power and the irresistible of fate. And this video is also reminding us not to do bad things, not to be afraid of ghosts.